My son pushed me at the Christmas table. This seat belongs to my father-in-law. Get out. Before we continue, please comment where you are watching from and subscribe so you can hear more stories like this. His hand hit my shoulder so hard that my plate jumped. The spoon flew. My chair scraped the floor with a loud, ugly sound. Then I fell. Not slowly, not gently. I fell straight to the ground in front of the whole family. For a second, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I could hear the tiny crackle of the Christmas lights on the wall. I could hear someone's phone buzzing on the sofa. I could even hear my own breathing, fast and shaky, like I had been running. Then I looked up. My son did not look sorry. He did not reach his hand out. He did not ask if I was okay. He stood there like a king, tall and cold, staring down at me as if I was a stranger who had walked into the wrong house. Around him, faces stared. Some looked shocked. Some looked embarrassed. Some looked like they wished they could disappear. My grandson's eyes were wide. My granddaughter covered her mouth with both hands. My daughter-in-law did not move at all. She just held her glass tight, like she was holding her pride. And at the head of the table, sitting in the place my son said was his father-in-law's seat, was a man I barely knew. He was smiling a little, like this was funny. I wanted to speak. I wanted to ask, "Why are you doing this?" I wanted to say, "I am your father." But the words got stuck. My chest felt heavy. My hands shook. My knees hurt from the fall. And my heart hurt even more than my knees. Then my son leaned closer and said it again, slower, like he wanted everyone to hear him clearly. "This seat belongs to my father-in-law. Get out." I looked at the table. I saw the turkey. I saw the jollof rice. I saw the small bowl of salad. I saw the drinks lined up. I saw the wrapped gifts in the corner, shining under the tree. It was supposed to be a happy day. It was supposed to be a day of peace. But in that moment, it felt like I had been thrown out of my own life. I stood up slowly, using the edge of the chair to pull myself up. My face felt hot. My ears rang. I did not want to cry in front of them. Not in front of my son. Not in front of people who were already judging me with their eyes. So I did what I had learned to do in life when I was hurt. I stayed quiet. I picked up my fallen spoon. I placed it back on the table. I wiped my hands on a napkin, even though they were clean. And I looked at my son with calm eyes. He thought my silence meant weakness. He thought my calm meant fear. He thought I would beg. But I did not beg. I did not shout. I did not fight. Because while he was busy trying to shame me, my mind was already moving, fast and clear. That night, when everyone went to sleep, I would make one decision that would change his life forever. And when he woke up the next morning, his phone would show one thing again and again. 68 missed calls. But the calls were not from me. They were from people who had never called him like that before. And the reason they were calling would shock him so much that his hands would shake. Do you want to know what I did that night? Good. Keep listening. Now let me tell you how we got to that table, to that chair, to that push, and to that fall. Because people did not know the full story. They only saw an old man on the floor. They did not see the years behind that moment. My name is Daniel. I am not a rich man with loud money. I do not wear big gold chains. I do not drive fancy cars. I do not talk too much. But I worked hard all my life. I raised my son, Ethan, with my own hands. When Ethan was small, his mother died. People told me, a man cannot raise a child alone. Some even said, give the boy to your wife's family. But I refused. I stayed. I worked 2 jobs. One was in a small warehouse, lifting boxes until my back hurt. The other was night security, walking around empty buildings when the world was sleeping. There were days I ate only bread and tea so Ethan could eat rice and chicken. There were nights I slept on the floor so he could have the bed. And when he was sick, I carried him to the clinic on my back because I did not have money for a taxi. Ethan grew up smart. He had a sharp mind. He could remember things quickly. Teachers liked him. People praised him. They said, this boy will be great. I believed them. And I did everything I could to help him become great. When he got into university, I sold the only land my father left me. It was not much, but it was all I had. I sold it for Ethan's school fees. On the day I gave him the money, he hugged me. He said, Dad, I will never forget what you are doing for me. At that time, I believed him. Life was simple then. Hard, but clear. I knew what my role was. I was a father. I was a provider. I was the one behind the curtain making things work. Then Ethan graduated. He got a good job. His life started to move faster than mine. He got new friends. He started wearing expensive shirts. He began talking about connections and business meetings. At first, I was proud. I told everyone, that is my son. But slowly, the way he talked to me changed. He stopped asking me for advice. He stopped calling me to check if I had eaten. When he came to visit, he stayed on his phone. Sometimes I would be talking and he would not even look up. If I asked him a question, he would answer like I was wasting his time. Still, I told myself, he is busy. He is building his life. A father makes excuses for his child, even when it hurts. Then Ethan got married. Her name was Karen. Karen was polite in the beginning. She smiled. She greeted me well. She called me, sir. She bought me small gifts during visits. I thought, okay, my son chose a good woman. But even Karen changed. After the wedding, Karen's father started coming around a lot. His name was Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill was a loud man. He liked to talk about his money. He liked to say where he had traveled. He liked to remind people that he helped Ethan rise faster. Sometimes he would say, if not for me, Ethan would still be struggling. Ethan would laugh at those words. He would not correct him. He would not say, my father struggled for me. He would just laugh, like Mr. Hill was telling a funny story. I noticed it. I felt it. But again, I stayed quiet. Then something happened that made my heart sink. One evening, Ethan called me. He said, Dad, Karen's parents are coming over this weekend. I want everything to look good. I smiled on the phone and said, of course. What do you need? He cleared his throat like he was about to say something difficult. Then he said, Dad, I need you to stay in your room. Just for the weekend. I do not want any awkward talk. You know how Karen's father is. I went silent. My own son wanted to hide me. Not because I did anything wrong, but because he thought I did not fit the picture he wanted to show. I said, Ethan, I am your father. He replied, Dad, please. Just do it for me. I agreed. That weekend, I stayed in my room like a visitor in my own home. I listened to laughter in the living room. I listened to plates and glasses. I smelled food I did not eat. When I came out later at night to drink water, I saw Mr. Hill sitting in the living room, feet up, like he owned the place. He saw me and said, oh, you are still here. Still here, like I was a broken chair that should have been thrown away. I walked back into my room without replying. I told myself, this is temporary. Things will get better. But they did not get better. Months passed. Karen got pregnant. Everyone was excited. Ethan became even more proud, like he had done something nobody else had ever done before. And I was happy too. I wanted to be a grandfather. I wanted to hold the baby. I wanted to tell Ethan, you will understand now how much a parent loves. But when the baby was born, Ethan and Karen did not call me first. They posted pictures online before they told me. I found out like a stranger. When I asked Ethan why, he said, Dad, do not make everything about you. That sentence stayed in my head for days. Still, I kept trying. I helped them when I could. I watched the baby when they needed rest. I cooked food sometimes. I cleaned. But I started noticing something else. Karen and Ethan were making plans, and I was not part of them. They were talking about moving to a bigger house. They were talking about selling this one. They were talking about finally being free. Sometimes, when they thought I could not hear, Karen would say, we need boundaries. And Ethan would say, I know. I will handle it, like I was a problem to be fixed. Then Christmas came. Karen said, let us all do Christmas together this year. One big happy family. She said it with a smile. Ethan said, yes, Dad. It will be nice. I wanted to believe them. I really did. I bought small gifts for the kids. I bought a toy train for my grandson. I bought a small doll for my granddaughter. I saved money for weeks to do it. On the morning of Christmas, I woke up early. I cleaned the house. I ironed my shirt. I even put on my best shoes. I told myself, today will be peaceful. Then they arrived. Karen came in first, carrying food trays, smiling. The children ran around the living room, laughing. Then Mr. Hill walked in like a boss. He did not greet me. He looked around and said, "This house is small." Ethan laughed and said, "We will upgrade soon." Mr. Hill nodded like he had approved it. I felt the air change. Still, I stayed calm. I helped set the table. I placed the plates neatly. I made sure the kids had their cups. I tried to make everything feel normal. Then everyone sat down. I took my seat at the table. It was not the head of the table. It was just a normal seat. A seat I had sat on before many times. I picked up my spoon. And then Ethan's voice cut through the room like a knife. "Dad, get up." I looked at him and said softly, "What?" He pointed at me. "This seat belongs to my father-in-law." I blinked. I thought I had heard wrong. I looked around, expecting someone to laugh and say, "It is a joke." Nobody laughed. Mr. Hill smirked. Karen stared at her plate. And then, before I could even stand up properly, Ethan pushed me. And you already know what happened next. The plate jumped. The chair scraped. I fell. The room froze. And the worst part was not even the pain in my knees. The worst part was the look in Ethan's eyes. A look that said, "I can do this to you, and nothing will happen." But that was where he was wrong. Because when I got up from that floor, I made a quiet promise to myself. A promise I should have made years ago. You cannot keep giving respect to people who keep throwing it away. That is a lesson many people learn too late. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been treated like you do not matter, by someone you loved? If you have, you understand why my heart went cold in that moment. After the push, I did not shout. I did not cause a scene. I did not ruin the Christmas meal. I did something scarier than shouting. I stayed calm. I looked at Ethan and said, "Okay." Just one word. "Okay." Ethan's face changed for a second. He looked confused. Maybe he expected me to cry or beg. But I did not. I walked away from the table slowly. I went to my room. I closed the door. I sat on the edge of my bed. And for the first time in a long time, I stopped making excuses for my son. I told myself the truth. Ethan did not just disrespect me by mistake. He did it because he believed he could. Then I stood up and opened a small box under my bed. Inside were papers I had kept safe for years. Papers that proved something important. Papers that Ethan had forgotten existed. My hands stopped shaking. My breathing became steady. My mind became clear. That night, while everyone laughed and ate and opened gifts, I sat in my room with those papers on my bed. And I made a phone call. Not to Ethan. Not to Karen. Not to Mr. Hill. I called someone whose number I had saved for a long time, just in case I ever needed it. The person answered, and I said, "Hello. It is Daniel. I am ready to do it." There was a short silence on the other end. Then the person replied, "Are you sure?" I looked at the closed door, and I heard laughter in the house like nothing had happened. I thought about the push. I thought about the words, "Get out." And I said, "Yes. I am sure." Then the person said, "Okay. We will start tonight." And right at that moment, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Ethan. "Dad, come back and apologize. Do not spoil Christmas." I stared at the message and smiled, but not a happy smile. Because Ethan still did not understand. He thought the story was about him pushing me. He had no idea the real story was about what I was about to do next. And as the person on the phone started giving me instructions, I realized something. The most dangerous father is not the one who shouts. It is the one who goes quiet, stands up, and finally chooses dignity. I picked up my pen. I placed the papers in front of me. And I signed the first line. Then my phone buzzed again. And again. And again. This time the calls were not from Ethan. They were from unknown numbers. One after another. Fast. Too fast. I looked at the screen. The first caller ID showed the name of a company Ethan feared. And then the phone rang again before I could even breathe. That was when I knew. The plan had already started. And by morning, Ethan's phone would not stop ringing. 68 missed calls. But before that morning came, something even more extreme was about to happen in this house. Because I heard footsteps outside my door. Heavy footsteps. Angry footsteps. And Ethan's voice, sharp and loud, coming closer. "Dad, open this door." The doorknob began to turn. Hard. Violently. And I realized Ethan was coming to my room, not to talk, but to force something. I held the papers tight, my pen still in my hand. The door shook once. Twice. Then the lock clicked, and the door started to open. The door opened slowly, like it was afraid of what it would reveal. Ethan stood there. His face was tight. His jaw looked hard, like a stone. Behind him, I could see the bright hallway light and a shadow moving. Someone was standing behind him, listening. "Dad," Ethan said, keeping his voice low, but not kind. "What are you doing in here?" I did not stand up. I did not hide the papers. I did not rush to explain. I just placed my pen down carefully, like I had all the time in the world. "I am resting," I said. Ethan looked at the bed. His eyes landed on the papers. His face changed, just a little. It was like he recognized something, but he did not want to admit it. "What are those?" he asked. "Old papers," I replied. He stepped into the room. He closed the door behind him with a quiet click that sounded louder than it should. Now it was just him and me. Ethan's voice became sharper. "Dad, why are you acting like this? Why did you walk away from the table like that?" I looked at him and said, "You pushed me." He waved his hand like he was brushing the words away. It was not a big deal. It was just a seat. Just a seat. That was how he saw it. I took a slow breath. A seat is not just a seat when you use it to shame someone. He rolled his eyes. "Dad, please. You always make things too deep. Karen's father is important. We needed to honor him. That is all." I kept my voice calm. "You honored him by dishonoring me." Ethan's eyes flashed. He leaned closer. "Dad, I told you. Do not ruin today. Just come out, apologize, and let us finish Christmas like a normal family." I almost laughed, but it was not funny. "You want me to apologize because you pushed me to the ground in front of everyone." Ethan's face went stiff. "You are my father. You should understand. You should support me. Support him. Even when he was wrong. Even when he was cruel." This was the problem. Ethan had mixed up support with silence. He believed a father must accept anything. I looked at him and said softly, "You are not asking for support, Ethan. You are asking for permission to disrespect me." Ethan's nostrils flared. "You are being stubborn." I nodded once. Maybe I am finally being awake. His eyes dropped again to the papers. "What is that file? Why are you signing things?" I did not answer him quickly. I wanted him to sit with the fear for a moment. Sometimes, when someone has been proud for too long, silence is the first mirror they see. Ethan's voice rose. "Dad, answer me." I said, "Do you remember the land I sold for your school fees?" He blinked, surprised by the question. "What land?" "You remember," I said. Ethan scoffed. "That was years ago. Why are you bringing that up now?" "Because some things do not disappear just because you stop talking about them," I replied. Ethan took one step closer and reached his hand toward the papers, like he wanted to grab them. I put my palm flat on the top page. Ethan froze. He stared at my hand, then at my face, as if he could not believe I was stopping him. "You will not touch these," I said. Ethan's eyes widened. "Excuse me." I kept my voice steady. "You heard me." For a moment, Ethan looked confused. Then his confusion turned into anger. "You are acting like a stranger in my house," he said. I lifted my eyes. "Is it your house?" He opened his mouth. Then he closed it. He did not answer. Because deep down, he knew the truth. And the truth was hidden inside those papers. Ethan's voice lowered. "Dad, what did you do?" I did not give him the full answer. "Not yet." I said only this. "I made a call." Ethan's face tightened. "To who?" I looked him in the eye. "To someone you should have respected me enough to never make me call." Ethan stared. I could see his mind racing. His pride was fighting his fear. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket. Ethan pulled it out and glanced at the screen. His forehead creased. He tried to hide it, but I saw it. The name on the screen made him uncomfortable. He swiped it away quickly. "It is nothing." 2 seconds later, the phone buzzed again. Then again. Ethan looked at the screen longer this time. His lips parted slightly. I said nothing. Ethan swallowed. He turned the phone so I could not see it. His voice became rough. "Dad, stop playing games." I leaned back a little. "Ethan, you have been playing games with my dignity for a long time." He snapped. "This is not about dignity. This is about family." I nodded slowly. "Exactly. Family. A word that should mean love and respect. Not bullying." Ethan's hand curled into a fist. "If you do not come outside and apologize, you will make things worse for yourself." I raised my eyebrows. Worse than being pushed to the ground in front of my grandchildren. Ethan's face twitched. Dad, you are embarrassing me. I looked at him calmly. You embarrassed yourself. He stared at me like he had never seen me before. Maybe he had not. Because the father he knew was the father who stayed quiet. The father who swallowed pain. The father who kept giving. But something had changed. Not because I suddenly became strong. I had always been strong. Something changed because I finally decided that my strength would no longer be used against me. Ethan's phone started ringing now, not just buzzing. A real ring. He looked down. The color drained from his face. He did not answer. It rang again immediately. He looked at me. Dad, tell me what you did. I said, no. His voice cracked a little. Why are they calling me like this? I gave him a short answer. Because actions have echoes. Ethan stared at the papers again. Then he made a move. He lunged forward, quick, trying to snatch the file off the bed. But I was ready. I pulled the papers toward me and stood up, fast enough to surprise him. Ethan stopped, shocked. I had not moved like that in years. He said, Dad, give me that. I said, no. His voice rose. You cannot do this. I looked him in the eye. You pushed me today. That means you can do anything, right? You can take my seat. You can take my respect. Maybe you think you can take my voice too. Ethan shook his head hard. That is not what I meant. I took a small step toward him. Then tell me what you meant. Ethan's mouth opened. No words came out. Then we heard a knock. Not on my door. On the front door. 3 heavy knocks. Bang, bang, bang. Both of us froze. Ethan's eyes moved toward the hallway. Then we heard Karen's voice from downstairs. Ethan, someone is at the door. Ethan looked at me like I had planned the knocks myself. I did not move. Ethan rushed out of my room and stormed down the hall. I followed slowly behind, holding the papers close to my chest. When we reached the living room, everyone had stopped eating. The children were quiet now. Karen was standing near the table, her hand on her chest, like she could feel trouble in the air. Mr. Hill sat back in his chair, calm, chewing like nothing mattered. Ethan marched to the door and yanked it open. 2 men stood outside. They were not smiling. They wore simple suits. Not fancy. Not cheap. Just serious. One of them held a folder. The other held a small device, like a phone or a tablet. Good evening, the man with the folder said. Is Ethan Brooks here? Ethan's shoulders stiffened. Yes, I am Ethan. Who are you? The man showed a card quickly. Ethan's eyes went wider. Karen stepped closer. What is this about? The second man spoke now, in a calm voice. Sir, we need to speak with you regarding a report filed tonight. Ethan frowned. What report? The first man opened his folder. A report concerning property documents and a legal interest issue. Ethan's face tightened. Property documents. Mr. Hill sat up slightly, finally paying attention. Karen's eyes flicked from Ethan to me and back again. The man continued. We need to confirm a few things. This will not take long if you cooperate. Ethan tried to laugh. It came out weak. This is a mistake. It is Christmas. The man did not smile. Sir, problems do not take holidays. That sentence landed like a stone in the room. Ethan turned sharply and looked at me. His eyes were not angry now. They were scared. Dad, he said quietly, what did you do? I did not answer him in front of everyone. Instead, I looked at Karen. Then I looked at Mr. Hill. Then I looked at my grandchildren, who were watching like the room had turned into a movie. I spoke calmly, so even the children could understand. I did not do anything evil, I said. I did something fair. Ethan's voice rose. Fair? You call this fair? The man with the folder raised his hand slightly. Sir, please. We are not here for an argument. We are here to ask questions. Ethan turned to him. Ask your questions. The man read from the file. This property. The house you are in right now. Who is the registered owner? Ethan replied quickly, too quickly. Me. The man nodded once. Are you sure? Ethan's eyes darted. Yes. The man's gaze shifted to me. And for the first time that night, everyone followed his gaze. All eyes moved to me. The man asked, Sir, may we see your identification? Ethan stepped forward. Why do you need his ID? This has nothing to do with him. The man's voice stayed calm. Actually, it has everything to do with him. Karen's mouth dropped open. What? Mr. Hill stood up. This is nonsense. The man did not look at Mr. Hill. He looked at Ethan. Sir, he said, we have a signed document submission made tonight. We need to verify the identity of the person listed as the primary stakeholder. Ethan's face went pale. Primary stakeholder. Karen grabbed Ethan's arm. Ethan, what is happening? Ethan shook her off, staring at me like I had turned into someone else. I reached into my pocket and took out my ID slowly. Not to show off, not to be proud, just to be clear. I handed it to the man. He checked it. Then he looked up and said the words that changed the room. Thank you, Mr. Daniel Brooks. Karen gasped. Ethan blinked hard, like he was trying to wake up from a bad dream. Mr. Hill's face twisted. Brooks, what does this mean? The man continued, Mr. Daniel Brooks is listed here as the registered owner of this property, with a documented interest that has legal priority. Ethan's voice cracked. That is not true. The man flipped a page. It is true. The records show that the property was acquired under his name and later managed under a family arrangement. Tonight, a change request and legal notice were filed. Karen whispered, change request. Ethan spun toward me. Dad, you would not. I looked at him, calm. You pushed me today. You told me to get out. So I listened. Ethan's hands shook. No, 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 no. Then Ethan's phone started ringing again. This time, he answered without thinking. Yes, he said. His face changed as he listened. His eyes became wider. His breathing became faster. Then he whispered, what do you mean the account is frozen? Karen's eyes filled with fear. Ethan, what is going on? Ethan did not answer her. He was still listening. He said, no, there must be a mistake. I did nothing wrong. He paused, and his voice dropped. What do you mean legal restriction pending verification? He ended the call. His phone rang again immediately. And again. And again. He stared at the screen like it was attacking him. That was the beginning of the 68 missed calls. And the night was still not finished. The man with the folder spoke again. Sir, we will need you to come with us to answer some questions and sign an acknowledgement of notice. This is standard procedure. Ethan backed up. Come with you. Now. The man nodded. Now. Karen grabbed Ethan's hand. Ethan, do not go anywhere. This is a setup. Mr. Hill stepped forward, angry. You people cannot do this. Do you know who I am? The second man looked at him, calm. Sir, please step back. Mr. Hill pointed at me. This old man is doing this because of a seat. A seat. I turned to him. It was not about the seat. Mr. Hill sneered. Then what is it about? I answered, loud enough for everyone. It is about respect. About how you treat people who sacrificed for you. I looked at Ethan now. I carried you when you were weak. I fed you when you were hungry. I sold what I had so you could stand tall. You did not become a man because you got money. You became a man because someone loved you enough to suffer for you. Ethan's eyes were wet now, but his pride still fought. He said, Dad, please. Stop this. We can talk. I will apologize. I asked him a simple question. Would you apologize if there were no consequences? Ethan went silent. And that silence was the answer. Karen's voice trembled. Sir, she said to the men, this is our home. Our children are here. The man nodded. Ma'am, we understand. We will keep it orderly. Sir, please come. Ethan looked at me one more time, with a mix of fear and anger and something else. Maybe regret. Maybe shame. Then he said, Dad, you are destroying me. I replied calmly, no, Ethan. I am stopping you from destroying me. Ethan stepped toward the door, like he was about to go. Then Mr. Hill suddenly reached across the table and grabbed the folder the man was holding. Let me see that. Mr. Hill snapped. The man tightened his grip. Sir, do not interfere. Mr. Hill tugged harder. The folder tore. Papers slipped out. One page floated to the floor near the Christmas tree. Karen screamed, stop. The children started crying. Ethan shouted, Dad. And in the middle of all that noise, I saw the page on the floor. It had a bold stamp at the top. A stamp that made Ethan's face turn completely white when his eyes landed on it. Because it was not just about the house anymore. It was about something bigger. Something that could take everything he had built. Ethan took one shaky step toward the paper. He whispered, no. And then the man with the folder said the words that made the whole room freeze. Sir, this notice includes an immediate restriction order. Effective tonight. Karen cried, what restriction? The man looked at Ethan and said, you are required to stop all transactions and report to the office by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Ethan's phone rang again. He did not answer. He just stared at the paper on the floor like it was a snake. Mr. Hill reached down to snatch it. But the second man stepped forward and blocked him. Do not touch that, he warned. And right then, Ethan did something I did not expect. He turned, rushed straight toward me, and grabbed my shirt with both hands. His eyes were wild. His voice was shaking. Dad, he said, tell them it is a mistake. Tell them you did not mean it. Fix it. Fix it now. I did not push him. I did not hit him. I did not shout. I just looked at his hands gripping my shirt and said, slowly, you wanted me to get out, Ethan. You pushed me down. You did not think I mattered. Ethan's grip tightened. Please. Then Karen screamed, Ethan, let him go. And the man with the folder stepped forward and said, firm and clear, sir, release him. Now. Ethan did not let go. His breathing was fast. The children were crying. The Christmas lights blinked softly, like they did not know the day had turned dark. And then, as Ethan's phone kept ringing, Mr. Hill suddenly shouted, if you do not stop this right now, I will make sure you regret it. Mr. Hill's hand moved toward his pocket. The second man's eyes narrowed, ready. Everyone froze again. And I realized something. This night was about to become even more extreme. Because Mr. Hill was about to do something reckless. Something that could turn this from a family shame into a real disaster. And before anyone could stop him, Mr. Hill pulled out what was in his pocket. For one long second, nobody breathed. Mr. Hill's hand came out of his pocket, tight and shaking. Whatever he was holding was hidden in his fist, but the fear in the room grew fast, like a fire catching dry grass. Karen screamed, Dad, stop. Ethan finally released my shirt and stepped back, his eyes locked on his father-in-law's hand. The children cried louder now, clinging to each other near the sofa. The second man in the suit moved first. His voice was calm but sharp. Sir, keep your hands where we can see them. Mr. Hill froze. His face was red, his chest rising and falling hard. Slowly, he opened his fist. It was not a weapon. It was a phone. A thick, expensive phone, shaking in his hand. The room let out a breath all at once. Mr. Hill lifted the phone high and shouted, I am calling my lawyer. This is harassment. You people have no right. The man with the folder nodded. You are free to call anyone you like, sir. But please lower your voice. Mr. Hill did not lower his voice. This old man planned this. He is bitter. He is jealous. He pointed at me. I did not move. I had learned something important that night. When people lose control, they show who they really are. Mr. Hill was not angry because of injustice. He was angry because power was slipping from his hands. Karen rushed to the children and pulled them close. Please, she cried, can someone take the kids away from here? The man with the folder nodded. That would be wise. Karen led the children toward the back room, whispering to them, trying to calm them down. Their crying faded slowly, but the fear stayed in the air. Ethan stood in the middle of the living room like a man stuck between two worlds. One world where he was powerful and respected. Another where he was just a son who had gone too far. Mr. Hill spoke into his phone now, loud and angry. Yes, this is Hill. I need help immediately. They are trying to take my son-in-law away. Yes, tonight. The man with the folder did not stop him. He only turned to Ethan. Sir, he said, we need to ask you a few questions before we proceed. Ethan swallowed. Ask. The man flipped through the papers. Do you acknowledge that this property was purchased under a family arrangement where Mr. Daniel Brooks retained ownership rights? Ethan shook his head quickly. No, that was never explained to me like that. The man nodded, writing something down. Do you acknowledge that Mr. Brooks contributed the initial funds for this property? Ethan hesitated. Mr. Hill shouted into the phone, tell them no. Ethan closed his eyes for a second. Then he said, quietly, yes. That one word changed the room again. Mr. Hill spun toward him. What did you say? Ethan did not look at him. He looked at the floor. The man with the folder continued. Thank you. Do you acknowledge that Mr. Brooks never transferred full ownership to you? Ethan's shoulders dropped. Yes. Mr. Hill yelled. Ethan. The man raised his hand. Sir, please. Ethan looked up now, his eyes wet. He looked at me. Dad, he said, his voice breaking, why did you never tell me it was like this? I answered honestly. Because I trusted you. Silence followed. Not the loud, angry kind. The heavy kind. The kind that makes people think. I stepped forward slowly. Ethan, I did not hold those papers over your head. I did not threaten you with them. I believed respect did not need documents to survive. Ethan wiped his face with his hand. I did not know. I nodded. You did not want to know. Mr. Hill ended his call and stormed back into the room. This is ridiculous. You are destroying your own son. Do you know what people will say? I looked at him. People already said many things when I worked 2 jobs to raise him. I survived that. Mr. Hill laughed bitterly. So this is revenge. Over a chair. I shook my head. It is not revenge. It is consequence. The man with the folder cleared his throat. Sir, he said to Ethan, based on the filings tonight, we are required to issue a temporary restriction. This does not mean guilt. It means we need clarity. Ethan whispered, what does that mean for me? Right now. The man replied, it means you will come with us briefly, sign acknowledgement, and return home later tonight. Tomorrow, you report at the office. Karen rushed back into the room, tears on her face. Ethan, you cannot go. The children need you. Ethan looked torn. He looked at me again, like a child who wanted help but did not know how to ask. I felt something pull inside my chest. Even after everything, he was still my son. I stepped forward and spoke to the men. May I say something? They nodded. I turned to Ethan. I did not do this to punish you. I did this to stop you. To stop the path you were on. A path where you thought people were tools. Ethan shook his head. I lost control. Yes, I said. And tonight showed you that control built on disrespect does not last. Mr. Hill scoffed. You are enjoying this. I looked at him, firm. I am grieving. That shut him up. Ethan finally nodded slowly. I will go. Karen grabbed his arm. Ethan. He kissed her forehead gently. I will be back. He turned to me. Dad, after tonight, can we talk? I answered truthfully. If you are ready to listen. He nodded. The men guided Ethan toward the door. Mr. Hill followed, still arguing, still threatening, still trying to bend the world to his will. The door closed behind them. The house felt empty. Too empty. Karen sank into a chair and started crying quietly. I stood there, unsure if I was welcome anymore. I turned toward my room. Daniel, Karen said softly. I stopped. She looked up at me, her eyes red. I did not stop him today. I should have. I nodded once. Yes. She flinched at my honesty. I thought it would pass, she said. I thought you would just take it. I replied gently, that is what everyone thought. She wiped her face. What happens now? I did not answer right away. I did not fully know myself. I will not take what is not mine, I said. But I will not pretend anymore. Karen nodded slowly. I went back to my room and sat on the bed. My body finally felt the pain. My knees ached. My shoulder throbbed. My heart felt tired. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I did not answer. It buzzed again. And again. Messages started coming in. Questions. Warnings. Names I recognized from Ethan's business world. People were talking. The ripples were spreading faster than I expected. That was when I understood something important. Once truth starts moving, it does not ask permission. I lay back and stared at the ceiling. Christmas lights blinked through the crack under my door. Then my phone rang again. This time, the name on the screen made my stomach tighten. It was someone I had not spoken to in years. Someone who knew everything. I answered. Daniel, the voice said. I heard what happened tonight. I sat up. How? He sighed. Because this is bigger than you think. And someone else just made a move. My heart started beating faster. What move? There was a pause. Then he said, Ethan's business partner just filed something of his own. Emergency level. I closed my eyes. What kind of filing? I asked. The voice lowered. The kind that does not wait until morning. I felt the room spin slightly. Outside, I heard a car door slam. Another engine. More voices. Not the men who left earlier. Different voices. Louder. Angrier. Karen screamed from the living room, Daniel. I jumped to my feet. Heavy. Footsteps rushed toward the front door again. And before I could even reach the hallway, the doorbell rang hard. Not once, not twice, over and over, urgent, demanding, and a voice shouted from outside, "Open up. We need to speak to Daniel Brooks. Now." I stood frozen, knowing one thing for sure. This night was not done with us yet. And whatever was coming through that door was about to raise the stakes higher than ever before. The doorbell kept ringing, loud, hard, angry. Karen stood in the living room, holding the edge of the table like her legs could not carry her anymore. Her eyes were wide, full of fear. "Daniel," she whispered again, "who is that?" I did not answer right away. My heart was beating fast, but my mind was clear. Too clear. The kind of clear that comes when you know running will not help. "I will handle it," I said. I walked toward the door slowly. Each step felt heavy, but steady. I had carried heavier things in my life than fear. Before I reached the door, the knocking started. Bang, bang, bang. A man's voice shouted again, "Open the door. We need to speak to Daniel Brooks immediately." I opened the door. 2 men stood outside. Not the same men from earlier. These ones wore dark jackets. No smiles. No calm voices. Behind them, a black car idled, engine running. One of the men stepped forward. "Are you Daniel Brooks?" "Yes," I said. He held up a document. "Sir, we need to speak with you regarding an urgent matter tied to tonight's filings." Karen rushed to my side. "What now? Haven't you done enough?" The man looked at her briefly, then back at me. "Ma'am, please stay calm. This is not an arrest." That word still hit hard. "Then what is it?" I asked. He took a breath. "There has been a counter-action filed. A serious one." My chest tightened. "By who?" The man did not answer immediately. He looked at the second man, then back at me. "By someone connected to your son's business," he said. Karen gasped. "Ethan." "No," the man replied. "Someone Ethan trusted." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I did not need to check it to know things were moving fast. The man continued, "Sir, we need to ask you a few questions and confirm something before this gets worse." "Worse how?" Karen asked, her voice shaking. The man's face stayed serious. "There is an accusation." I felt Karen's hand grip my arm. "An accusation of what?" I asked. He lowered his voice. "Of manipulation and coercion." Karen cried out, "That is a lie." I raised my hand gently. "Let him speak." The man nodded. "The claim is that you used tonight's incident to force actions that could damage multiple people." I almost smiled, but not from joy. From disbelief. Because I was pushed to the ground. I asked. The man did not argue. "Sir, truth and timing can look dangerous together." Karen shook her head. "This is madness." The man turned to me again. "We need you to come with us briefly to clarify things. Just talk." Karen grabbed my arm tighter. "Daniel, please, do not go." I looked at her. "If I hide now, it will look worse." She nodded slowly, tears falling. I turned back to the men. "Give me 1 minute." They agreed. I went to my room and picked up the file again. I placed it inside a small bag. I took my phone and keys. As I turned to leave, I paused. For the first time that night, doubt tried to enter my heart. Not about what I did, but about how far this would go. I pushed the doubt away and walked back out. "I am ready," I said. The men led me toward the car. Karen followed, crying softly. "Please, Daniel, please come back." I stopped and looked at her. "Take care of the children." She nodded. I got into the back seat. The door closed. The car pulled away. Streetlights passed by like blinking eyes. My phone buzzed again and again. I finally checked it. Missed calls. Messages. Some angry. Some scared. Some begging. And then I saw one name that made my breath stop. Ethan. A message from him. "Dad, something is wrong. They are turning this against you. Please be careful." I typed back only 2 words. "I know." The car stopped suddenly. We were not at an office. We were not at a station. We were in front of a large building with bright lights and guards at the gate. My heart sank. "This is not brief," I said. The man in front turned slightly. Things escalated. The gate opened. The car drove in. As we stopped, another car rushed past us in the opposite direction. I recognized it. It was Mr. Hill's car. Fast. Too fast. My stomach twisted. The man beside me spoke quietly. "Sir, before we go inside, there is something you need to know." I looked at him. "What?" He said, "Your son's business partner has gone missing." The words hit me like a blow. Missing, I repeated. The man nodded. And your name was mentioned. My heart dropped. I thought of Ethan. I thought of the children. I thought of the push at the table. How one moment of shame had turned into a storm. The car door opened. Bright lights hit my eyes. Daniel Brooks, the man said, step out of the vehicle. I stepped out. As my feet touched the ground, my phone buzzed one last time. A new message. Unknown number. I opened it. It read, stop now, or your son will lose everything. I looked up. Inside the building, alarms suddenly started ringing. Red lights flashed. People began running. Someone shouted, lockdown. And in that moment, I realized the truth. This was no longer just a family problem. It was something much bigger. And someone was willing to destroy anyone in the way. Including me. And possibly, Ethan. I clenched my fists as the guards moved fast around me. Because whatever was coming next would decide everything. And there would be no turning back. The alarms did not stop. Red lights flashed across the walls, painting everything in fear. Guards ran past me, shouting orders I could not understand. Doors slammed. Locks clicked. One of the men who brought me grabbed my arm. Sir, stay close. Where is my son? I asked. He did not answer. That silence scared me more than the alarms. They led me into a small room with glass walls. I could see people moving fast outside, phones to their ears, papers flying from hands. This place was built for control, but tonight, control was slipping. A man in a dark suit entered the room. He looked tired. Very tired. Mr. Daniel Brooks, he said, sitting across from me. I will be direct. Please do, I replied. Your son's business partner disappeared an hour ago. His phone was found. There are signs of a rushed exit. My chest tightened. And why am I here? The man folded his hands. Because someone wants to make you look like the reason. I leaned forward. That is a lie. He nodded. I know. But lies can move fast when money and fear are involved. I thought of Mr. Hill. Loud. Proud. Angry. A man who hated losing control. I asked, where is Ethan? The man hesitated. He is safe. For now. Those last two words were like ice. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I showed it to the man. Someone is threatening my son. He read the message and his face hardened. We are aware. Then why am I sitting here? I demanded. He stood up. Because you are the only one who can stop this from getting worse. I blinked. Me. He nodded. You started a legal process tonight. That process shook people who do not like being exposed. One of them reacted badly. I stood up slowly. Tell me what to do. The man studied me. You are calm for someone in this position. I said quietly, I raised a son alone. I survived worse than fear. He took a breath. We believe the missing partner is hiding documents. Documents that prove fraud. If those documents surface, many people fall. And if they don't, I asked, then someone innocent may take the blame. I thought of Ethan again. A boy I once carried on my back. A man who pushed me down. Still my son. I will not let him fall for this, I said. The man nodded once. Then you need to do something hard. What? You need to finish what you started. Fully. No hesitation. I understood. Power does not respect half steps. They brought me papers. More papers. Clearer ones. Stronger ones. This will protect your interests, the man said, and expose the truth. I picked up the pen. My hand did not shake. I signed. The alarms stopped suddenly. The lights returned to normal. Someone rushed into the room and whispered to the man in the suit. His eyes widened slightly. He looked at me. They found the partner. Alive? I asked. Yes. Talking. He nodded. And blaming the right people. Relief hit me so hard I had to sit down. Minutes later, my phone rang. This time, it was Ethan. I answered immediately. Dad, he said, his voice broken, they told me everything. I closed my eyes. Did you listen? Yes, he whispered. I finally did. There was silence between us. Not angry silence. Honest silence. I am sorry, he said. For the push. For the words. For forgetting who carried me. I let out a slow breath. Sorry is a start. I was wrong, he continued. Money made me blind. Pride made me cruel. I said something I had never said before. You hurt me deeply. I know, he cried. If you walk away now, I will understand. I thought of the Christmas table. The fall. The eyes watching. Then I thought of the future. I am not walking away, I said. But things will change. Yes, he replied quickly. I will change. When I returned home, the house was quiet. Karen stood by the window. Her eyes were red, but hopeful. The children are asleep, she said. I nodded. Ethan will be back tomorrow, she added. He told me. I looked at the Christmas tree. One ornament lay broken on the floor. I picked it up and placed it aside. Respect, I said calmly, is not given because of age or money. It is given because of truth. Karen nodded. I see that now. The next morning, Ethan's phone showed it. 68 missed calls. From lawyers. From partners. From people who once ignored him. But for the first time, he did not feel powerful. He felt awake. Weeks later, the truth came out fully. The partner confessed. Mr. Hill disappeared from our lives. The business survived, but smaller. Cleaner. Ethan came to me one evening and said, Dad, sit at the head of the table. I looked at him. That seat belongs to no one. He shook his head. It belongs to the man who taught me what it means to stand. I sat, not because I needed the seat, but because he finally understood why it mattered. The lesson is simple. Never mistake silence for weakness. Never push down the people who lifted you up. Because the quiet ones are often the strongest. And when they finally stand, everything changes.